What's going on, guys? It's your average consumer, and today we're going to be checking out the brand new Honor 6X. Now, Honor was cool enough to sponsor today's video and send one of these out for me to try and let you guys know what you can expect from it. Now guys, the first thing I want to talk about is the price. You can find this phone for 250 bucks, and I think there's going to be about 4 flash sales where you can find it for 200. That's insane. Now, typically when I hear a phone is in the $200 price range, I immediately think it's made out of plastic, but surprisingly, the Honor 6X features an aluminum design. Now, the entire thing isn't made out of aluminum, but having that aluminum back definitely helps it to feel like a much more premium phone. And while we're looking at the back here, you'll notice a couple of things that you typically see on higher end phones, like a fingerprint scanner, as well as dual rear cameras. Now, when it comes to actually using the camera, you're going to be using that top 12 megapixel to capture your image composition, and the bottom one is going to actually be a 2 megapixel that captures the depth of field. And the craziest thing about this camera is that it has an aperture range of f.95 all the way to f16, which is a crazy range, and for my camera junkies, I'm sure you'd appreciate that. This means you're going to be able to take in a ton of light, so it should be good for low light photos, and if you want to have that nice depth of field effect where you have a ton of bokeh in the back, you're going to be able to do that as well. And you've even got an 8 megapixel shooter in the front, so you can take those selfies. Oh, that's good. Minus that mic. Now, the only feature I see missing here is the lack of 4K recording, but at this price, you can't really complain, but that is something that's going to be missing if you're looking for that feature. And of course, we've got to talk about the display. This thing is rocking a 5.5 inch 1080p display, which is actually very vibrant and really sharp. And of course, I had to watch some of my favorite animes on this, and having that 5.5 inch display and those nice colors always helps with the experience. And for my spec heads wondering what kind of power this thing has under the hood, it's running a Kirin 655 octa-core chipset, as well as 3 gigs of RAM, which is insane on a phone this price. This thing also includes 32 gigs of storage, but a nice bonus here is the fact that you also have a micro SD card slot, so you can expand the storage if you want. A dying feature on most phones, so it's good to see it here. But if you guys want to know more about the specs, I'll of course have more details down below. Now, I think one of the most impressive numbers we can talk about here is actually the battery life. This thing has a 3300 milliamp hour battery, 3340 to be exact. But that is just insane on a phone this price. I always like to hear when a phone has over 3000 milliamp hours of battery, so seeing 3300 on here is really welcomed. And combined with the fact that this thing has a 1080p display instead of something higher res, you're not gonna have to worry about your screen sucking up that battery life, so you're gonna be able to use it a bit longer. And in terms of software, the 6X is running a skinned version of Android Marshmallow with the EMUI 4.1. While this is a skinned version of Android, the UI is pretty clean, and it doesn't stem too far away from stock Android. I think the biggest thing to take away here is that this isn't some big premium high-end device, but it does a lot of the same things at a much lower price range, probably a third of what you'd pay for your typical high-end premium smartphone. I got a couple of phones that come into mind when I think the $200 price range, and I gotta say, this one already hits the top of that list. But that's about it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like the idea of the Honor 6X, if it's a budget smartphone that you think works for you, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Till then, it's your average consumer. Peace.